Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the Football Overseas YouTube channel and welcome to game week 29 of the English Championship. And it's the third in this soap opera of 3 games in a week, which has really shaken up a few teams and got a few teams back on track. So we'll have a little look at what happened in the midweek. Suffice to say, the top 5 who won last week, well, 4 of those top 5 won again in midweek. So they've really started to stretch that top end of the table now. And it's looking good for some of them. And it's Coventry, Middlesbrough, Ipswich and Hull with the 4 winners, the top 4, basically, the 4 winners. Ipswich indeed are on a run of 4 consecutive victories. Middlesbrough 3 and Hull and Coventry back on track with 2 good wins, home wins this week. They probably much needed them, but just to get things settled down again. But they certainly pulled out the points and the performances. So that's the top of the table. It's scary, the 4 teams in the playoff zone at the moment, but it is getting stretched, as I say, because we look at it. And Preston in 6th place, just clinging on somehow. They've had a bad week. They're on 43 points, whereas at the top of the that group of 4, there's a 7-point gap now, so it's getting stretched. That's 2 games plus, isn't it? And it starts to reduce the chances of others that are trying to jump into that zone, because there's less places up for grabs as we go into the thick end of the season. So there we go. That's the situation at the top. All getting very exciting and very tense. And just to put some context on that, Preston in 6th place on 43, and you go down to 12th place QPR and only 3 points behind them. So that's how the logjam waiting to jump into that top 4. But as I say, the top 4 or the top 4 or 5 now starting to pull away a little bit. So we'll see how that goes this weekend. And then down at the bottom, some vital points for Portsmouth. 4 points out of the 6 in 2 away games. We know their away form has been a bit up and down, a lot down more than up at times. But they picked up 4 very valuable points. An expected win or a needed win at Sheffield Wednesday, but a very well-earned point against Watford. And Oxford had a couple of nil-nils. That's not doing them any good, both at home. So that won't have pleased their fans or their manager. They're now 5 points behind Blackburn, who've been dragged into it like a magnet into that bottom 3. They've just been on a rocky road, and now they finally hit rock bottom, in as much that they in the relegation zone they can only go one way now and get out of it. So a lot going on. Norwich, let's not forget Norwich. I nearly did. What a win they had at West Bromwich Albion. Eric Ramsey has had a baptism of fire at the Hawthorns. 5-0 home defeat to the Canaries. Goodness me. Norwich, the one thing I think I'm going to get right this season is that Norwich were going to get out of it, and always destined to in my book. And their 6 points on the road this week has really given them a much needed boost of confidence. Not so for Eric Ramsey in West Brom. And a little bit, Eric Ramsey apparently was in the coaching staff of Eric Ten Hag at Manchester United, and latterly a coach in his own right in the Major League Soccer in America. So I don't know. I didn't know much about him when I heard his name first time round. I still don't know much about him, but that's about as what I do know. So he is got a lot on his plate there to steer West Brom clear of relegation. There's 3 points now from Blackburn. So there we go. That's where it sets the scene for this final chapter in this week that we've had. As I say, game week 29. It all starts off, and West Brom straight back on the horse. Can you believe it? They're the first match up, away to Derby County. And Derby County, they've had a good week so far, winning 2. The first 2 matches of this 3, and I think they'll make it a hat-trick here. I think West Brom have just got a lot to do to recover from the mauling from a canary. That doesn't make sense, but they were mauled by the Canaries, and I think Derby County will take the points. Derby County 2, West Bromwich Albion 0. Derby, by the way, having a really good win down at the Valley, 2-1 against Charlton. Never an easy place to go. They really give it their all. Then on to the Saturday 3 we've only got two 12:30 games. Check. That's unusual, but we have. The first of those is Middlesbrough versus Preston North End. Preston have had two poor defeats at home in front of their own fans this week. 3-0 by Hull midweek. Middlesbrough, as I say, part of that top 4-5 now that are having this little mini breakaway. And they had a really good win down at Stoke. I think they went 1-0 down, if I remember rightly. So Middlesbrough, I think, will put away Preston, having a bit of a dodgy trot, aren't they? Still clinging on to 6th place, though. But I think Middlesbrough will see them away. Middlesbrough 3, Preston North End 1. Off to Millwall we go. Millwall versus Charlton. There's a feisty one if ever there was. Nathan Jones on the sideline revving it all up. Goodness me, that will be a good one to go to. And a tight game, no doubt. Millwall looking to put right the wrong in midweek when they lost to Coventry by 2-1. And Charlton, as I say, lost to Derby. But also I think Millwall just might. I'll give them home advantage as their opportunity to take it narrowly by 2-1. Millwall 2, Charlton 1. Birmingham against Stoke. On paper, that sounds a real tight one, doesn't it? Birmingham got the 2-0 win at Sheffield Wednesday. Stoke, as I say, went down at home to Middlesbrough, which informed Middlesbrough, by the way. So I think this will not peter out, but this will pan out to be a point apiece. So I'm going to go Birmingham City 1, Stoke City 1. Brings us on to Blackburn against Watford. Watford will be a little bit disappointed to have dropped 2 points to Portsmouth in midweek, but they went 1-0 down, so they clawed it back. There was sort of a goalkeeping error by Portsmouth keeper. And Blackburn, as I say, have gone below the survival line, so they'll be a little bit concerned about that, I think, for the first time this season. So not the time to start really messing about down there, is it? With only 17 games left on the clock. So I think, though, Watford have been pretty good generally of late. They're just 7th. They're in 7th place. They had that run of 4 wins, and they've had a loss and a draw to start this part of this 3-game week. So they won't be happy with that. They want to end it on a high, and I think they just about will. I'm going to go Blackburn Rovers 1, Watford 2. If Watford can take that transition game up there, they'll have every chance. Now my team, Bristol City, here we go then. Sort of meekly fell away at Ipswich. Things not quite going to plan in the transfer market either. And I think Gerard Struber is getting a bit frustrated, as we all are as fans. Anyway, I have that's for another day, my situation on my reasoning on all of that. They really do have to get back on track here with 3 points. Poor result last week at Oxford as well, 0-0. If you've got any ambition to get into that top 6, you've got to start beating winning sides that are in the bottom third or whatever it is. Ipswich, obviously, away from that, of course, Ipswich are flying, aren't they? So they're always going to win that game in my view, and they did 2-0. So Bristol City, I think, will take the points against Sheffield Wednesday. We're finding it tough going now as they tread towards the end of the season. So I'm going to go Bristol City 2, Sheffield Wednesday 0. Now we have inform Hull City, who have recovered. They've had this they've stayed sort of consistently near the top of the table, but they have a graph that goes a bit like that, a bit like a heartbeat. Swansea had a decent 3-1 win over Blackburn at home, but I think Hull flying high. Won those 2 away games this week so far. They'll want to reward their travelling fans back at home, and I think they will. I'm going to go Hull City 3, Swansea City 1. Hull having a really good 3-0 win at Preston. Not an easy thing to do. On we go to Leicester and Oxford. Oxford are 2-0, so they can't score, but I suppose it's one of those, if you don't lose games, if you can't win the games, don't lose them, and they got a couple of points for their efforts. But this is a toughie going to Leicester. Leicester still not really making that climb towards the playoffs. They're 5 points behind. I keep thinking I can say that nearly every week, don't I? Anyway, they are at home to Oxford. They had a decent 1-1 draw down at Wrexham, or up at Wrexham, cross at Wrexham, however you get to Wrexham from Leicester. I think it was 1-1. No, it was 1-1 rather. I think it was a late goal by Leicester to equalise when Wrexham were looking to chalk up yet another home win, but they just failed. I think it'll be another goalless day for Oxford. They're struggling really badly at the moment in front of goal. I'm going to go Leicester City 2, Oxford United 0. Brings us to Queen's Park Rangers, who also had 2 0-0, so they didn't trouble too many scorers over this past week. They are at home to Wrexham. I can't see that being 0-0, and I certainly haven't chosen 0-0. But I have chosen a Wrexham victory. They had, as I say, dropped 2, disappointing for them, 2 points against Leicester. QPR drew at Oxford. We'll be happy with that. They're still in the playoff hunt. But I think Wrexham are also in the playoff hunt. But 1 point better off, and I think they'll be 4 points better off come 5 o'clock on Saturday. I'm going to go Queen's Park Rangers 1, Wrexham 3. So the final game on Saturday is still 3 o'clock, no evening kickoff. It's Sheffield United against high-flying Ipswich now. Ipswich dabbled with second place for a while on Tuesday because they beat Bristol City. As I say, they were temporarily in the automatic place, but normal service was resumed as Middlesbrough got their win as well. So I think Ipswich are flying. They go to Sheffield United for just a couple of tough 1-0 defeats. I hate losing 1-0. We should always look back on the game and think if only that one mistake or whatever it was could have been avoided. I'd rather lose 3-0 than 1-0. That's absolutely... Always said that as of when I was going to games regularly. Hated it when it was 1-0. Anyway, why am I waffling on about that? Sheffield United lost the last 2 games at 1-0, as I say. They'll lose this one as well, in my view. I'm going to go Sheffield United 0, Ipswich Town 2. Now, goodness gracious me, what have we got on Sunday to treat us with? As you all know, if you're regular here, you will know that my postcode team is Portsmouth. I live in Portsmouth, and we have the first... South Coast League derby for many, many seasons. And it is being much anticipated in this. You can't switch on the radio, the local TV, within 2 minutes of switching on, you're hearing something about this match. It is the talk of the town. I shall be curled up on my sofa watching it in the safety of my flat. I shall have a glass of wine or so by the side of me. I have no preference on who wins. Obviously, as you know, my team is elsewhere. But it's going to be... I hope it's much better than the first one. This is the reverse fixture. The first one was 0-0 and it was drab. Let's not... From a neutral. It was a drab old game. And if it hadn't been a local derby, it would have been one of the most boring 0-0s ever. But it was that flavour to it when it is the local game, isn't it? I think this will be different. There are things at stake here. Portsmouth will want to build on their excellent week so far. 4 points from those 2 away games. Southampton managed to slide in a home win, or a win, which has been they've been really devoid of recently, and they put one over on Sheffield United. So there, it's midday showdown. It might end up being midnight. Midday showdown on the south coast. Batten down the hatches. There's all the usual checks in place for those coming from Southampton. For anyone going to the game, it's going to be well regimented down at Fratton Park. It will be a brilliant atmosphere, I'm sure. Let's hope. Please, let's hope. It passes without any incident. Plenty of incident on the pitch. Let's have all the incident on the pitch. And let's have a local derby to put to the nation at midday to kick off the sporting Sunday. That's what we've got. What am I going to do? Am I going to get to my prediction? I will in a minute if I start waffling. I'm going to go from my postcode side. I think they've just got a little bit of momentum this week. Southampton will not come here with very confident and be thrown into the Fratton faithful. I'm going to go Portsmouth 2, Southampton 1. That allows me to walk out for the next day or two before the match. And finally, but certainly not least, goodness me, what happened, as I say? Norwich go scoring five goals away from home. Philippe Clement has got them going at last. Well, not at last. He's pretty much changed it around since Liam Manning left. And Norwich are really getting flying high. Not flying high, but They're still getting their results sorted. Now, can they back it up? And what a game to back it up with. Home to the leaders, Coventry. Now, again, I'm going to go for a little bit of a shock here, I think. I think Norwich will fancy this. It's a free hit for me. And they can just go and play. And don't worry if they lose. No one's expecting them to get 3 points against Coventry, or the result against Coventry is not going to determine whether they stay in the Championship or not. I think they will anyway, as I keep saying. So this is a free hit. Go and show the league leaders what you can do. Get rid of the shackles. So if we're still recovering from the Portsmouth and Southampton game, all I am, we will all reconvene on Monday night. It's the Monday night Sky game, Norwich against Coventry. I'm going to take Norwich to spring a surprise. Norwich City 2, Coventry City 1. So there we go. Let's hope the weather holds up this weekend. I think it will. Let's talk of it getting a bit colder again. But we want a full programme now. We want full programmes right through to the end of the season. Fantastic weekend this is for everybody involved in all these matches. As I say, I should be glued to the television at midday to watch Portsmouth. My team... my home team, good Lord. My postcode team, get it right in a minute. My other team hopefully will have got 3 points by the time I'm curled up on the sofa watching that one. So there we go. Have a great weekend. Please stay safe and stay healthy. And don't forget to like the channel here. The football is, as I say, just to give the lads who put all this together some support. It really is worth your just a little bit of get that muscle going. And click the mouse button. There we go. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have a great footballing weekend. I'm sure I will have tales to tell when we return next week for game week 3-0. The big 3-0 next week. Have a great time. See you again very soon.